What's up, everybody? Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on the Space Engineers Inspiration series. We're starting things off with the Edison Electric Arobas 12x12 MLUV Rover. And yeah, that's the name. This was a viewer submission. I believe all of the posts, or all the submissions in this video are going to be viewer ones, if my memory serves me correctly. And most of them are all vanilla, I believe. Actually, I think all of them are vanilla with the exception of DLC. This one in particular does use the WASTELAND DLC, for those of you that may or may not have it. Just as kind of a heads up. Now, there are two builds here that look a lot alike, and if I understood the description correctly, they're pasted in with a bar across the two that are connecting them. And if my understanding is correct, one of them is a subgridded version with kind of a multi-grid setup, and the other one is as non-multi-gridded as possible, if my understanding is correct. So I just figured we'd show them both because there wasn't really any reason in going through and deleting them and stuff, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what each one looked like and stuff. Now, as for its purpose, I'm honestly not too sure. It doesn't look heavily armored enough to be like a tank or anything, but it's also clearly not got enough like production blocks to be like a mobile base or anything like that. The reason I say I'm not sure is because most of the description is done in kind of a very comedic, in my opinion, very well done, like in lore type explanation, which I kind of had to read between the lines and try and figure out. But as far as I can tell, it kind of seems like a exploratory with some self-defense components kind of thing type of rover. Could be wrong, but that's what I'm going with. Also, I thought that they actually looked different. But it seems that it's actually because they were back-to-back. So this is actually the same as this over here. At least it looks similar. So, there is a couple of neat little things. First of all, the look is pretty cool. It's got this kind of almost, not steampunk, but kind of a very industrial look to it. You can see all the... it's like this looks like a giant muffler kind of thing, and you've got like the different thrusters on the back and kind of the exposed guts look. But I also like it's very shiny because of use of, I'm assuming this is silver and gold blocks, because I don't think you can recolor those, so I don't think there's just a generic metallic block. I could be wrong. But yeah, so it makes it very, very reflective and very shiny, which is kind of cool. There is a gun turret control somewhere that was mentioned in the description, as well as a main access point to the canopy, which I believe is going to be this one. So that's the actual canopy lift, and then you've got the pilot seat here. As for where you control the guns from... Actually, this is interesting. The guns aren't even fully made. I just now noticed that. So, I'm not sure if that's a designator. That might just be a designator for where the turret's supposed to point, but I'm not too sure. So we're gonna hop in here. I don't actually know which one is the subgridded and which one is the non. I believe that in the description it mentioned the subgrid one being less performance friendly without clang and issues, which makes sense. I mean, if we're being honest. But as for which one is which, I'm not too sure. So we're just going to use this one because it's right here in front of me. So we're going to grab this one. And what do we got here? We've got Gatling guns. We've got the canopy controls. Space age boosters. Now that's an interesting thing because I don't know if that means if this ship is supposed to fly or if it's just a giant thruster on the back. We're going to figure that out. Ultralight turret control, so that's probably how we're going to control the designators for turrets, I'd imagine. Parachutes, which is interesting, because I don't know if that's just for deployment or, again, if it can fly. We've got the reactors, batteries, hydrogen engines, and then we have some Gatling... Oh, that's actually Gatling gun that's static. This is a turret, and then we've got the antennas and beacons and all that fun stuff. Camera for the connector, and then connector controls, so fairly well organized and laid out. I like it. Okay, so we'll close the canopy, and there is a mention in the description that if you... Ooh, we got readout displays too. If you lose the canopy, you can use the projector to produce a digital one. However, again, very comedically, the description does indicate that the holographic version of the canopy does not protect against bullets, lasers, or space debris, or weather of any kind, which I found very comical that needed to be noted. Alright, so it actually... I'm not using the thruster thing at the moment. I'm actually scared to be honest, because this thing gets up and goes kind of amazingly on its own. I am not going to lie. Rovers and ground vehicles are somewhat lost on me in how to build them effectively. I mean, I can place tires, but like this is actually like we're moving. This is actually working pretty well. I'm waiting for it to blow up all of a sudden or flip over. And as we're going over these hills and everything, it's hugging the ground nicely as far as we're not getting a lot of airtime or anything like that going over these bumps. There's a little bit, but not much, and we're cranking right now. I don't think I've ever actually driven a ground vehicle that wasn't on like a pre-built racetrack on like at the 50 meters per second type speed and not have it be rolling and flipping all over the place. So I am genuinely impressed at the stability of this little tank thing. This thing's a beast. Obviously, if you take too sharp of a turn at this speed, we're kind of lurching a little, but it doesn't take much course correction to actually, or you know, letting off the wheel a little bit to let the wheels come back down. So I'm very impressed. Now, before we end up destroying this thing by using the booster, now, I don't know what that spark is. I guess it's sparks coming from the smoke trail we've got going on, maybe. So we've got... What is this one? Is this the... Oh, this is the static. Okay. So I'm guessing it's on an auto fire, like not select and then fire with the mouse. You're just gonna auto fire it kind of thing, which is cool. Let's check the turret controls. Whoop-a-daisy. Meant to do that. Okay, so I'm guessing ultralight hinges, so that's probably the locks, I would imagine. Gatling guns on and off. Toggle block on, okay. Interesting. Is there more than one? Oh, I see, okay. So there's two fixed ones there, and then there's the turret control over there. Interesting. So I'm assuming we can turn this off. Whoa now. This is super touchy. I'm not even joking. Like, you have no idea how responsive this little turret thing is. You barely have to move. This turret goes all over the place. Although, I have to say, and then I'm guessing these are the actual turret controls. And there's a camera. Ooh, see? Very, very touchy. Whew. Make me dizzy. I have to say, one thing that I like about this is typically manually controlled turrets are usually done with rotors, but now that we've got the hinge blocks, the two hinges facing two different directions, that's actually a really simple way to do it. I'm not gonna lie. That's actually really cool without having to do a bunch of rotors and do a lot of degrees and all that kind of stuff. Like, you just have the left and right and you have the up and down, and that would pretty much control most of your range of motion. Now, we're going to exit out of that. We're going to take control of the vessel again. Now we come to the part where we're probably going to blow something up, which is the override thrusters. Let's see what we can do at full speed, because we are flying, almost literally. A bit literally there for a second. So we're at full throttle, like full traveling speed. Yep, told you that was gonna happen. Okay, so, it may not seem like it. Come on, flip it over. Oh, I managed to flip it over. Nice. And actually, even with all that, it's still drivable. Like, this is a durable little rover. Now, I don't know if I picked the subgrid or not. I'm guessing not, but I could be wrong. One thing I have to say is, although we did just crash, I had to use not only the thruster overrides, but, like, full throttle. We were almost pushing 90 meters per second, I believe, before it actually started bouncing and flipping and stuff like that. So, at its wheelbase of, like, 45-ish, this thing is a tough little booger as far as it does not flip over very easily and stuff. So if you're looking for a fairly sound rover design, I don't know what this thing's using. I don't know what kind of black magic physics it's got going on, but this is probably one of the most stable rover vehicles I've seen in a very long time, if not ever. Now I will say it doesn't handle, as we saw, the drops aren't terrible if you're careful, but shock-wise, impact absorption, there is a little bit of stiffness to where if you, like we did, if you're going too fast and you hit too hard, it may not be able to compensate for it, so keep that in mind. One thing I'm curious about is, with the overrides, I'm wondering if I can actually tilt it and, like, fly. Or not. I'm wondering if that was... Nope, not the intention, I don't think. I was curious if you could leave the atmosphere with it or not, because it had parachutes, but I guess that's just for dropping it off. So now that I've thoroughly wrecked this thing, I can still manage to sing its praises. So, we're gonna wrap this one up here, and it's still driving! It's still kind of driving. Alright, now that I've thoroughly messed this thing up, we're gonna wrap this one up here, and let's move on to the next one. Okay, and next up we have the Navette Relay. Navette? I don't know. Y'all know me at this point, I've given up on pronouncing things correctly. So this is actually kind of a smaller ship that I usually focus on bigger ones because it gives us more to kind of look over, but this one had a lot packed into a very small little profile of a ship. But this was basically, again, another viewer ship. It is a vanilla build, and it is kind of is designed as a transport shuttle. It's either to transport items and things to either ships or between ships and stations and so on and so forth. So it's kind of similar to a little tugboat type ship, except it's probably more designed for hauling materials and things and less for like moving a derelict ship or something like that. Now, a couple of things that I noticed right off the bat is, at first glance, the style and design of the hull could look kind of simple, but I actually think there's a lot more detail packed into it than you might think at first. For one thing, the color scheme is very planned out, as far as there's little stripes and things in different spots, so there was definitely care taken in terms of making sure the aesthetic was correct, or at least looked right. The other thing that I like is this actual bottom plate here that kind of recesses everything up a little bit so it's not fully exposed on the bottom, and it puts a very low profile between the landing gears, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot. I also like the little blinking lights on it. That's one of those, it adds that realism, because a lot of jets and ships and things have little like transponder signal type things on them, which I think is pretty cool. I also like how the cockpit glass here, or the bridge, kind of blends into the shape, so it kind of doesn't, it's almost unnoticeable if you look at it at a glance, but then if you look up close you can kind of see all the glass panels and things. I like it. The other thing that I like on the, oh, this is kind of funny. Oh, that's to access the ice generator, or O2, H2 generator, I guess. I thought that was just like some kind of warning sign, like, you know, don't keep hands clear kind of thing. The little stoplights back here are kind of cool. I also really like this entrance hatch. One, because it's very recessed in that it doesn't really stand out. It's for some of us that may have issues with doors, you could fly right past this at certain times and maybe not even know where the door is. I'm just saying, that's very well done. Also, the grading and all that, it matches that kind of worn, rugged kind of look to it. But I think that's kind of cool because it covers up the door, but also doubles as like the ramp, which is neat. I like that a lot. Okay. This is also a cool idea too. Actually, what blocks are these? Oh, this is probably from the Wasteland DLC. I'm still getting used to some of the newer blocks. Because I was like, these are actually really cool, and this isn't modded. The one thing I like about this is that they use them all the way through, so it's not just like there's a couple panels up here, but it actually creates kind of a textured walking surface for the whole thing. Not that it would really matter in the game, but for an aesthetic thing, it looks kind of cool. I think that would be one of my only issues, is that unless this is supposed to be done fully in atmosphere or something, I didn't see anything that looked that way. But I would have wanted more of like an airlock. I guess technically this can be sealed, but still, I feel like it would have been hard to do in this small of a space, but I do think there could have been more of an airlock thing. But there's a lot of little details going on, and I've said this before, that if you're not doing modded, and you don't get creative with subgrids and stuff, small ships usually almost always have more detail than the bigger ones. Even down to this, where you've got little conveyors here and then there's a little grate over it and stuff. That's just really cool. We've got I like the wood walls. I think that's fairly apparent at this point that everyone knows I like it dresses up the place and makes it feel more like a homey ship rather than just, you know, the cold steel kind of thing. Makes it more luxurious. You got cargo containers here, which is handy. That's pretty cool, especially for a small grid. But I like the little touches, like having all the grates covering conveyor ports and things. That's really cool. Actually having them exposed is neat, because it kind of gives you that vibe of still has that rough industrial kind of look. I'm guessing this is kind of, not sure what happened there. I'm guessing this is supposed to be kind of like a vent of some kind, or it's supposed to look like an exhaust vent or something. And then we've got the bridge, which again is kind of a lot packed into a little space, which I give credit to the builder for that, because that's hard to do. You've got the O2 H2 generator over here, I believe, and then we've got little bits and bobs all over, but are actually functional, because if you look at the conveyors and things, they have green lights on them, so they're actually functioning. They're not just all for show. This one is a small hydrogen tank. That makes sense. Connected up to the generator. You got a cargo container there. Gyroscopes over there. And yeah, so we're going to get in here again. Come on. You can do it. Maybe not. Maybe we're just supposed to get into the cockpit. That's probably easier. Okay, so what are we working with here? We've got the hydrogen thruster. I'm guessing that's all of them, but it might just be the main one. We've got open and close. I'm assuming... Okay, that one's closed. That's going to be exterior. This one's going to be the cockpit, because that one's open at the moment. That's probably going to be for the ramp. We've got spotlights, antennas, and stuff. There's a group here, but it's grayed out, so I'm not sure what happened there. Oh, speaking of grayed out, I should also mention that on the last build, there was a warning that, although I did not use any mods or anything, it did warn me that there were missing blocks. Why, I don't know, because the workshop file has it as vanilla, with the exception of DLC, which I have all the DLC, so I'm not really sure what that's about. But just be warned if you paste in the first build that we did, the Rover, that it may give you a warning, and I'm not sure what that's for. Alright. So, anyway, that just made me think of it. So we've got the hydrogen thrusters. I don't see... Oh, there's the two. Okay, so there's only two in the rear. That's another thing. The thrusters are well hidden, as far as I didn't even notice all of them at the very beginning. Okay, so again, this is going to be a shuttle, so I'm not expecting it to accelerate very quickly, but it is very maneuverable, which is good. The acceleration is a little on the slower side just because you only have those two small thrusters pushing the ship, but as you can see, once you get going a little bit, it's actually not that bad. Now, I remember that the description mentioned it could do ship-to-ship and moon stations and stuff like that. I don't remember if it's rated for atmospheric transfer or not on planets, so keep that in mind, but I think that's going to do it for this one. Let's move on to the last one. Alrighty, and last but not least, we have the ACT-01 thousand cuts. Now, there's a couple of things I want to point out right off the bat with this ship. One being, it is a viewer submission, like I said. I believe all of these have been, as I'm trying to catch up through my backlog of submissions. The other thing is that I have been loosely in conversation with the builder, and I have been told that there are updates and things being made to this particular ship, and I don't know if those updates have been posted or not yet. So I would keep an eye on this one if you like the idea of it or something, and just keep a lookout for any updates or patches or things that are made to the design in future releases. The other thing is in the description. I don't know. It looks like the change has not been made, but in the description it mentions through trial and error that the parachute covers, which I believe are these things right here. Yeah, because that looks like a parachute hatch. So apparently those have to be removed because they will not function correctly if the parachute is obscured. So keep that in mind. That was accidentally not a cover. I thought it was, so I'm going to stop deleting things. But yes, so just a couple of things to get out of the way is keep an eye on it, and if you paste yours in or you look at the blueprint and it's got covers over it, you may want to remove them so the parachutes function correctly. But again, I didn't mean to, I'm going to leave it. I'm not even going to be testing the parachutes anyway, and I'm just making a mess of things. So we're just going to leave it alone. But as the description describes this, I believe this is a light destroyer type ship in that field of purpose, as far as it's designed to kind of hold its own and be a little hefty in a fight. I actually really like the design of this. It looks fairly simple at first glance, with just being kind of mainly a couple of different shades of the same kind of color of that grayish kind of tones, grayscale. But I like all of the little different bends and things in it. It looks very interesting and kind of different. Even adding these little curved edges and things in, I'll admit, it's driving my OCD a little bit crazy because it's not one, like, nice connected shape, but credit where credit's due, it's actually still an interesting design. I really like the rear thruster shell back here that kind of covers up the thrusters and whatnot. I think this is really cool. In fact, I kind of would like to dig into this a little closer and see at some point if I can figure out all that went into it. Actually, this is really cool, because I'm just kind of eyeballing it. So the small thrusters are being connected through essentially a conveyor chain between the large ones, but then there's a spotlight that's being covered up by a blast door block, but that's still allowing the light to come through, which is a really interesting idea. I think that's really neat, actually. Also, very clearly lit doors to make things easier for some people. Anyway, so there is a couple of, I think there's one script that is running on the ship that I believe was labeled as optional. So if you... Oh, this is interesting too. I've never actually seen this done before. So these are the programmable blocks, but instead of having the screens facing out, they've actually flipped them. So it kind of just looks like either more functional blocks or materials or just part of the wall. That's an interesting idea. It gives your wall a different kind of shape. Can't say I've ever seen that before. That's pretty cool. Alright. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe all of these different script readout, or it's not script, screen readouts and things, I think might be being run by the same script. Because there was a discussion on my Discord about the particular script that I think was being used on this ship being very versatile and having a lot of different bits and bobs that it can control. I'm guessing... Wait, does that go down? Oh, that goes down. Okay. I was thinking that was an exterior hatch, but apparently not. This is interesting. So we've got a med bay here in a cryo chamber. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe this ship was used in survival, so that's probably why there's like one cryo chamber and stuff. At least here, in this particular spot, is it may be more of the survival aspects rather than like built with the idea of having it be run by like 5 billion people or something. There are a couple more places here, and I think the description did mention oh, wait, did I get turned around? I get so turned around in these ships. It did mention... Oh, we're back where we started. Okay, cool. It mentioned that there were more crew accommodations, I believe, so that may just have been the front cryo chamber, and these may be the, like, some other ones or whatever. Maintenance airlock to hell. Okay. Apparently, we don't have good working conditions for our engineers in here. Holy crap. Okay, I'm kind of starting to see... It's kind of starting to make sense a little bit, not gonna lie. This would be fairly difficult to navigate if you were the maintenance guy. I won't lie, that is fairly non-user friendly. I mean, it does look like you can at least get to most things that would need to be repaired, but yeah, this is rough. Especially if you were trying not to use your jetpack fuel or something for various reasons, because I don't think I can even make that jump. I'd have to jump over here and then walk over. This is a puzzle. This is like one of those parkour puzzles in Minecraft. Okay, so I do want to see what goes down here in these locked areas. So let's see if I can remember. I've got the build info thingy majigger. So we're going to toggle the block on and open it. That's very useful. I like it. I'm going to start using that probably a lot more in my both Inspiration and Reverse Engineer series as well. Okay, so we're dropped down here, which is interesting because we had the maintenance area above us, so I'm not exactly sure what this is here for, other than just maybe an easier way to get down to a lower level? I'm not really sure, but with that said, that's the side. I'm not gonna lie, I actually was anticipating a bit more of an interior. Let's try this one real quick and just make sure that we didn't miss anything. I'm thinking this goes the same way. It looks that way. So I apologize if I'm missing any sections, but I don't really see any more pathways, so I'm gonna say that we kind of explored the interior. We are at the bridge CIC area, I believe, to quarters, hangar, wait, hangar? I didn't see a hangar. To quarters, hangar, and maintenance. Okay, we've got maintenance there. I guess this is considered quarters. Maybe? Oh, and this is gonna be the hangar. Okay, well, yeah, I guess we did look at most everything then. Alright. It didn't sound like we saw all of that, but apparently we did. Alright, so let's jump in here. What do we got to work with? We've got a forward camera, we've got fixed rockets, missile doors, so we probably want to open those first. Reverse thrust, downward thrust, and these look like they're toggling controls, not overrides. I could be wrong. Parachutes, upward thrust override, and, oh, I guess that's an increase-decrease override. Okay. We got landing gears, turret controls. You don't really need to mess with any of that, so fairly simple. Nothing super complicated. Okay, so acceleration-wise, it accelerates really fast. That's for the size of the ship and everything. That's a pretty decent get up and go. And actually, maneuvering is fairly smooth as well. That actually moves a little bit better than I would have thought, too. So kudos there. Alright, so now we're going to open the missile bay door. Oh, there they are. Okay, right there in the front. And then, let's see... So we've got the two main fixed weapons, but you got a crap load of turrets and stuff on here. So I'm pretty sure it could probably make Swiss cheese out of most things if you give it enough time. But with that, I think we're going to wrap things up here for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, click the subscribe button, and be sure to ring the notification bell so that you're updated, and any other buttons you find, because I'm convinced YouTube has too many buttons now. So just click all of the buttons, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.